Just while it's loading up, the one thing you don't want to do when you're weed eating is hit any kind of Good evening. Welcome to Wednesday, 9 p.m. This is the Whatnot podcast, and I am Mike Z.
And I am Chris, and I was trying not to go into the light at the end of the intro.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, wait, what?
Yeah.
Should we discuss this? So we apologize for our hiatus last week, but that actually brings us to the point of this week, and that's basically just talking about streaming, virtual conferences, what it's like to be on this side of the screen. If you've ever attended one or been around one or seen one and maybe thought, what is that all about, but didn't join it, we just have some things that we just want to talk about as far as that goes on both sides of it. We've been both the attendees as well as the presenters and hosts. So there's a lot of things going on nowadays.
Yeah, with the launch of a worldwide thing, it has seemed to have closed down a lot of places and a lot of events. And their version of fixing that is let's do a live virtual event. Virtual. And so we've all been participating in one form or another in a virtual event.
Yep, we started doing that. So we started doing lives with a cell phone in April 1st of 2020, which is always
Fools.
And that we were the fools by all means. But if you ever check out our day job on the YouTube page or on the Facebook, go all the way back to then. It's a lot of fun. But we had fun with it. We learned a lot, and then we decided to change things that we didn't like about it. So that's what did they say? You gotta crawl before you walk.
Know when to fold them. Know when to walk away.
Yeah. Know when to run.
Yeah. And so, it's been an eventful couple years, but since Mike and I have had the opportunity to be hosts, I guess is a term we could use, for live events, or, maybe some of you have streamed your own thing. I know Mr. Kyle does his weekly event where he streams his training for the CNC and the Vectric program. So we kind of wanted to just talk about that. What's it like to stream or do live things in today's social or media world?
Yes, absolutely. Because going live has really become easier than it ever was before. It was one of those things that always television shows did. You didn't really have that opportunity. And now it seems like, everyone's got a phone. You can go live at any time. But what does it take to actually make it happen? What does it take to participate? And there are a lot of platforms we found out, with doing our day job thing, and we have a big live event coming up in October, that you do a lot of research if you can early on in order to make sure you're going to get what you want for yourself. And that's really what it comes down to, is personal preference. And a lot of times you have someone that says, well, I like how this looks, so, get it as close as you can to that. And so that's what we base it off of. But with when we do this is more of like, hey, let's just, each episode we do something, we get something. Now you've got a green screen, so it looks really nice behind you. I still got a television. It looks really nice behind me when the aliens land.
Take me to your leader.
Good old Jerry Blakesley.
And now when we talk about streaming, we're not necessarily talking about, oh, you know what, I'm going to go do a Facebook Live or I'm going to go do a YouTube Live. Now that could count, but in some cases you're streaming to multiple platforms at one time, and that can get tricky, and we all know that IG is not a friend of streaming. They're like to monopolize their platform. So it's there's no really way to stream multiple platforms, including IG. So we, Mike and I thankfully have had the opportunity to work through quite a few issues. Mostly Mike. I've just been there to support him in his endeavors, and get his back while so the ball stays off of him.
It's good to say, so I don't crumble into a million pieces.
Yeah. I'm the support staff, to Michael Ziegler when it comes to most of these things, and it's not because I don't want to. It's because, well, if you have the knowledge to do it, well, let the person who has the knowledge figure it out, and just do whatever you can to support
just sit back
that
and
in
watch
any way.
the things that don't work and say, okay, I'm not doing that when I do it.
Yeah. And so we're figuring it out, and most companies or businesses have like a money man behind the scenes. Yeah, we don't have that. We're just us. So we just makeshift things. Sometimes it's a little redneck. Sometimes it's whatever. But
we did last weekend, not this past weekend, but 2 weekends ago. We did a symposium, the Woodturner Symposium, and it was all virtual. And we did 4 hours each day. So Saturday and Sunday were 4 hours each. That takes a toll on you if you're not used to doing that. If you don't prepare yourself ahead of time, I have to say that took a lot out of me. Like, I really didn't realize it was going to be that bad, but it was great. We had a good time with it. I swallowed a fly before one video and just had to like jump and cut right to the video. And I'm still trying to find that. I was going back through and watching it. And when you and Scott Caskey were talking, I'm over here, like, I'm looking around. It looks like I'm not really caring, but I'm clicking on all these things in the background, changing all of these things that are going on. So I started watching myself, like what I was doing, because I didn't look right. I was kind of like, I'm doing these faces, and I'm like, what am I doing? And then I realized, because all of a sudden, there's this sweet thing that pops up on the screen. Stuff like that. By the way, Kyle, awesome. So anyways.
Yep.
So there's a lot going on.
Well, then, sometimes when you're in the middle of stuff like that, it's one thing when you're live and you're talking to someone. It makes you feel like you're actually, when you have a conversation, it's easier.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're standing here staring at a camera right there, it's like, okay, well, who am I talking to? Yeah. I mean, I can see in the chat, we've got John and we've got Kyle, and I see Mike on the side of the screen with me, but it's not the same as having, a real life conversation with somebody.
Sure.
I don't know. And I'm a personable guy. I like to talk to people. This is just weird, and when I make my own video content and I'm talking, it's like, it's even weirder because then there's nobody. It's just crickets. That and the truck races that go down my street here, from time to time. So, just that's kind of what we want to talk about. I mean, I know, Kyle, you do a lot of video stuff. What are some of the struggles maybe you've faced, and I think we've all been there. If you've tried to make any content at all, you obviously, that content has to be videos. Photographs just don't cut it anymore like it used to be. So,
and I also noticed that for myself, and I'm working on this, so everyone knows that I like to look at you while I'm talking to you. I like to look at the person while talking to them. So it's hard to turn and look into a dark void and, watch your face while we're talking, see the reactions that are happening. Who I think really got the shaft, if you will, in the entire community of entertainment is a comedian. Because they're so used to looking people right in the eye, telling that joke, seeing their reactions, what's working, what's not working. And instead they have a camera. So it's like, it's really hard. So, all your late night hosts that went to quarantine and all of that stuff, and they're having to look at a camera, and they only had like maybe their family behind them laughing at the jokes. I couldn't imagine making jokes and just being dead silence. I guess got to be the weirdest feeling.
Yeah. I mean, I like to look at, people's face and look at their shoes. And, whenever I'm telling my dad jokes, I like to feed off the energy of the room, if you will.
Yeah.
That's tough to do when you're staring at that right there.
Well, when you're not funny like me, it's real easy to not have to worry about that. You just naturally have this quietness always anyways. The dad jokes just always sink. That's how it works. It's not a big deal, but for someone whose job is to make people laugh, I couldn't imagine being that person. That would be a mind trip.
Yeah.
So change that. So we're going to talk real quick. We had mentioned IG. That's where we actually post a lot of our own personal content. It's a really easy platform to post it on. So Chris is at Crisscross Crafts, and I am at Dubstyle One. If you're interested in seeing what we do with our what do you call it, weekends, evenings, whatever.
With the balance of our life that's not Whatnot or
That's right.
woodworking shop.
Yeah, the rest of the time that's left over to us. Yeah.
Yeah.
You keep yours up there. You get your count up.
Oh, look at that. Mr. Miller. Wow.
He did. He stopped by. We make you laugh. He always thinks we're on drugs, though.
Yeah, well, it's because we are. I mean,
Speak for yourself.
yeah. See, like Mike and I both have worked a lot of trade shows, so we understand the concept, and because we've worked in retail, we know, how to talk to people and have conversations and do things like that. And at trade shows, I mean, you're either training or you're educating or explaining or whatever. It's just a lot easier face to face.
Yeah.
And the challenge is, I can't imagine as a kid nowadays with all this distance learning stuff. I could not imagine. Teachers struggle enough to keep these kids in line. Could you imagine what that would be like trying to do that over a camera?
I think after a while they don't give up, but they realize the ones that are engaged and the ones that aren't. They're kind of like, okay, you showed up, so I'm glad you came, Mr. Timmy. Stuff like that.
Yeah, one day maybe we need to get Kyle on here to tell us all the things he's learned about live streaming.
Hey, he can come anytime. Oh wait, I was trying to upload one of our images of us being somewhere. So Kyle said he has learned a lot about live streaming and making videos in the past year. His biggest struggle was my shyness, but I've gotten much better with lots of practice, still consistently improving as much as I can. Yeah, I get that. It's an introvert thing. It really is. When you're introverted most of your life and then you have to do something like this, it really brings you out of your shell.
Oh yeah, yep. And when you're dealing with like what Kyle does every week. I mean, he's got that weekly training session that he does. I never can catch it because he has it at 5 o'clock. Some people get off work at 5, but thankfully he records it and you can watch it later. So when you're training a group of people like what he's doing, and we've had stuff like this where we're talking about a product or we're talking about a subject. I mean, that's one thing. But when you're actually trying to teach someone or train someone, and last week, 2 weeks ago, was my first experience with that, or last week, I guess. Yeah, last week was my first experience trying to do that at the conference Mike and I taught at. And it was really weird because it's hard enough to be able to talk to somebody you can't see, but it's a whole nother realm when you're fighting platforms and streaming services and requirements that you have to meet, and it just makes it tough.
Totally.
So, and I don't know about Mike, but the platform they had us on was horrible.
No, Cal real quick said it definitely helps when you enjoy the topic you're talking about, and you're absolutely right. That was the only way we could make it through this last conference. And I'll tell you, the platform was a Ventry, and for the amount of money that the people pay for the platform to get all of these things, it's like a virtual show. You got booths and you got these sessions and you got meeting areas and networking and all these other things. It was tough. It was really complicated because it was set up by people who do programming and are used to the platform is the best way I know how to describe it. They did an absolutely fantastic job when it comes to linking a lot of these things together. But in order for you to log in, having to have this code every time, and the whole thing of like the cameras dropping, cameras would stop working all of a sudden. If you shut off your mic, like if you removed yourself from it, you had to set everything back up again as far as your mic and echo test, the cameras. It wasn't as easy as just shutting it off and turning it back on. Like you could mute yourself, but it was kind of a pain. And then presentations. And I wish I had something to show you guys this, because it would be nice to show you how the platform looked, how we were talking and how we were presenting everything, but it's playback only. You can't download it for yourself. You cannot use it offline. And so I couldn't get anything other than trying to hack it, and I didn't want to do that.
And they had and what was weird was most platforms, especially in today's time, is they have that flexibility of being able to use a green screen so that you're not just staring at a, broken bookcase or a dining table or whatever in the background. They did not have the option for a green screen on that platform, which made it really odd, I thought. And so thankfully I had a plain wall I could set myself up against and make it work. But it's little things that I've noticed, and everybody's trying to jump on the bandwagon, and with the Zooms and the Google Meets and the Microsoft Teams and all these other crazy platforms that they've got out there. Like you said, with presentations, they force you to pre-convert all of the files from PowerPoint to a PDF, which absolutely made me angry because I'd spent 2 hours putting together this really cool PowerPoint with all these cool animations and really kind of keep the ADD at bay, when during the presentation. And oh yeah, we can't have none of that with a PDF. So it's like, so it just that part was really frustrating for me. So I don't know. And then Mike kept wanting to play on the whiteboard.
Oh, okay. So that was probably the coolest thing, is that they had this whiteboard. And so basically everybody either had the opportunity to write on it, so you could see their mouse hovering over the screen, and then you could change your colors and your size and all that stuff. So whenever Chris would unlock it, I was the first one to go in there. And I'm a presenter, by the way, so I'm part of the hosts. I would be the first one in there just scratching all over the screen. And then if you locked it down, he forgot to undo it. So now you have this green lines all over the screen. That's it. I had to have fun with that.
What was weird was when you unlocked it, everybody's mouse that was hovering over it, it looked like an airplane radar screen where all the little airplanes are on the blip, and everybody was moving their mouse around, and I just kept wanting to go, be still, be still. So that's why when I was presenting, I just locked it. It was driving me nuts. I couldn't concentrate. So
the other thing about that platform is that you could upload all these documents, but I would highly suggest, if you ever have to work with that platform, it says to get in 15 minutes early, get in like 30, because things that you need to upload, if you had more than one document, it would take for a while, because it had to convert it all to PDF. Even if it was a PDF, it had to convert it to a PDF. That made no sense.
Yeah.
So that was a problem. And then you have to go into the screen. It's like you have to get out of the screen you're in the presentation to the loading screen to select the document you want to show next. You have to put this little check mark. It's not like user friendly. So you have to play with it ahead of time in order to be able to feel comfortable just to use it. And then you have to make it downloadable. So there was a lot of times we were sitting there saying, well, yeah, we'll just have to email it to you. And I had to go in and play around with the settings to find out, oh, there's this little document looking icon. You have to click on it in order to make it downloadable. Like, I don't know. Some things were just kind of like backwards to me. They should have been automatic. If you're presenting something, you want people to download it. It should be automatic, and you have to go through the process of not making it downloadable.
And the weird part too was if you have multiple formats, like I had a video I showed on one and a PowerPoint that I showed, or excuse me, PDF slideshow. You couldn't have both of them up and ready. You could only have one or the other. So which meant when you went from the presentation to a video, you had to click a button, click another button, insert the link, click OK, then come back into the whole thing where you could then click play on the video. And what really sucked about that was the audience watching. When you clicked play, they didn't see it. They had to also click play, which was absolutely blew my mind how that worked.
And then you're hitting play. So of course, you're looking at us right now. So let's imagine we said, okay, now we're going to take a look at this video. And we sit here and we're watching this video. And then all of a sudden you'll see in the chat people popping up. I don't see anything. Is there something supposed to be happening? What's going on? And it's like, oh, so you got to stop it. And then you're like, okay, can you guys see the video? No, we just see your two heads. We got that a lot, which is kind of funny. So then it was like, all right. So then we close out of that link and put it back up. So here was the weird thing about that platform. You had to only use external links. The other thing is that they wanted us to record these presentations, but when you're showing an external link, it doesn't show up in the recording. So it's just Chris and I sitting there quietly watching a video in the recording. So that was that. I'm going to tell you right now, I went back and looked at it. That one was creepy because we're just like, for like 20 minutes. But it's, I don't know. So, and then we're not complaining as much as we're just saying there was a lot of issues with it. And I'll say it's in the neighborhood of a small brand new car in order to pay for one show. Like it wasn't inexpensive at all. And I thought it just wasn't put together. And hey, they sent me a survey. I filled it out and I put everything in there. It was constructive. I even did screenshots. Oh yeah, because I want them to know. It's like they're okay. So they send you this email. You have a registration link, you have a membership link, you have an attendee link, and you have a host link. Yeah, when it's showtime, you're like, crap, which one am I supposed to click? The other thing was that I didn't like at all, and this is a gripe. When you want to set up what sessions you want to attend, you had a due date a month ahead of time to get those locked in. So, for instance, our boss, he only selected one. He didn't select all of them. And I completely agreed with him. I thought it was that you would just say, well, I'm interested in this one. No, when it came down to showtime, that's the only one he got to see was the one that he selected. And I thought that stunk because what happens if you're in a session like with these teachers we had? A lot of them were like, hey, you guys got to check these two out. Like, that's a lot of fun. They're talking things that, are interesting, whatever. They couldn't join the session. It was only the ones that had signed up for it. So I didn't like that part.
Yeah. So that's kind of where that was on that. And I mean, Mike and I, we mostly, like with this, we use the StreamYard software. Mm-hmm. And at least with StreamYard, it's nice. It allows you to have green screen. It allows you to do a lot of customizations that are, fairly inexpensive for what you get. And you can stream them. I don't know how many platforms is it? I mean,
well, I was just going to click that button. Periscope, which is Twitter's live, pretty much everything Facebook, all Facebook. So the group, the pages, and your personal profile, YouTube, and then they have RTMPs, which are basically the stream key. So if you know what the stream platform you want to go to is, like Twitch, that one's automatic too. But if you wanted to stream to something through this software, through StreamYard, you can, as long as you have that link and that key, then you can go anywhere with it, which is nice. So that'll be on my next thing, is to take because they're making a lot of upgrades to this from last year. Let me tell you, they've really StreamYard's really cranked it up. Facebook has 4-hour max, YouTube has a 10-hour max. So we had to watch it when we did our 4-hour on YouTube. Otherwise, it would have shut off, and then Facebook would have shut off at 4 hours, and YouTube would have kept going. And then it gives you an issue or a problem. But if you're looking to do live streaming and looking to just have a very user-friendly interface, I know there's Restream is another one we looked at, and I'll probably go back to looking at it now because they've made some improvements. But Restream really reminded me of that Eventree, where it was very basic things that you had to add all these plugins. You had to program that to do what you wanted to do. Here, your comments are all in one spot, and you can change how you're commenting as far as Facebook, YouTube, both. You have banners, which is what we have down at the bottom, scrolling all the time. So we have banners.
Quick question, Mike. Did you log in
to
the StreamYard? Well, clearly you did. You have this thing. Look at the top right corner.
What, the StreamYard thing?
Mm-hmm. Of your current screen. There you go. No. There you go.
Yeah, no, I was getting there. I was going to say that's the logo part, so that's stock that comes with it. The overlay, live with StreamYard, that's stock. We can put whatever we want, such as where we put our pictures of Kyle's fantastic finishing rack. We also have the video clips, like how we do the intro. That's loaded in here already. Our background, that's loaded in here already.
I'm only going to say this once. Nice rack, Kyle.
Glad you only say it once. Then you also have these. So you can have ones that pop up while they're scrolling. So there's a lot of options of stuff you can put in here when you take the time to set it all up. And that's the thing about live streaming, by the way. It is a lot of background stuff. Chris has had to sit and watch me want to jump off a bridge, basically, trying to set a lot of these up. But once they're set up, they're there, which is really nice. That's right. Cheer wine soon. Anyways. So once you set it up, once you get used to it, then we're good. The next level for us is going to be Blackmagic products, Stream Deck products that are going to take a lot of these things that you're seeing on the screen and put them into the feed naturally, more like you would see on television. So that's where the next thing is going to be. You're welcome, Kyle.
Working at Blackmagic.
That's right. Tell you what, though, they make some really cool products. What else is there? So, and then there's Hopin, which is another one. Now, Hopin has actually purchased StreamYard. StreamYard originally started out as just, simple, kind of get people started in it as a simple alternative to Restream. But then they've grown quite a bit over the past year, given why. The other thing is they're extremely cheap, really. For the entire year is $500. You can do as many as you want to, as long as you want to. You can save all of your things up to 15 days on their server, so you have to download them within 15. So all of that's actually really nice if you just wanted to have it, save it. What's really cool is we can take this stream and then restream it again with us talking over that again. So there's a lot of options that have come down the line with this particular software. Whatever reason that's there, that's one of their stock things. I think it's funny. You can't take it away, but it's there. Click on the comment to show it on the screen. Thanks, StreamYard. Anyways.
Yeah, and it's important, since we are streaming to Facebook, YouTube, and other platforms, when you're doing that, you want to be able to see if people are commenting. And that's almost impossible to do by yourself unless you constantly are stopping and go, okay, well, let me look at the comments here on the side and go about it that route. I mean, I've watched some very good content streamers do that. Laney Shaughnessy is one of my favorites. I mean, he does that every week, and sadly, his 2 to 3 hour events, he's always having to go back and look at the comments. Especially, it gets even worse when people get into their own conversation, and like right now, we've just got very few comments, but if you get 3 or 4 people back and forth in a conversation, that can fill up quickly. And as a single person trying to do this, it's almost impossible to keep an eye on that and keep it managed. Whereas like usually Mike and I, if one of us are talking or doing something, the others are glancing over here, kind of keeping the comments in our minds. And so streaming's tough if you don't have a partner.
It's good to have at least 2 people. 3 is really good. 1 who's doing all this background stuff, and 2 that can take on the conversation when it need be. But having the comments on the screen for both the host, which in this case is me because of the software, and then having the comments for Chris as well, which he's over there, that makes it great because then he can also see them. See, some software doesn't allow that. They only allow the host to see it. And so that was another nice benefit of StreamYard. Let's see, you can have up to 10 people. So far, I've had up to 14 videos loaded. So one really cool thing about this software is that you can preload a video you have downloaded. So let's say like with Kyle, for instance, I'm not sure how he does his setup now, but if you wanted to have yourself, be on the screen in a different layout, let me do this real quick. I'll show you. Okay, so he could have the video going here while he's over there. Or he could have himself big, video small. He can have himself big, the guest small. Like there's so many different layouts for this, or just the entire video itself, however he wants to do it. So that's really a nice feature. Well, we are that.
Yeah, let's don't scare off the people.
Yeah, sorry about that, everybody. It's hard enough as it is, isn't it?
I just saw four people drop, and we've only got 2 or 3 in here.
Sorry, we don't want to get rid of any viewers. But moving forward with that chat, Facebook has not, Facebook has started something with it, but YouTube really has taken off with memberships. So if you have enough views, you can actually create this thing called memberships and have badges for certain people. So if you do a lot of live streaming and you have certain people that are always commenting or they're always engaging with you as the host, then their stuff kind of comes up highlighted. You can also select by just them, so you can weed out those who are having a conversation by themselves or throwing their political or religious or whatever their matter is at the time. That's the other thing about live stream that really is kind of tough, is you get a lot of those people that just come in, just want to say their comment, and then they leave. They're not really there for you to help you with what you're talking about. They're just there to say what they want to. So they have really started to do that, which is nice. And then if someone's sitting there spamming, saying the same thing over and over, they eventually get blocked out, which is cool too. Because I've done a lot of homework on it as far as watching a lot of live streams, but there was a live stream I was a part of on Instagram. Instagram is absolutely terrible for live because the comments are at the bottom. They're about that big, where your screen's, this big, and you have like that for comments. The downside was that you have to try to scroll without actually going up into the other part of the screen, and then it messes it up. That platform really needs some work when it comes down to live stuff. And the downside is you can only do it through a tablet or a phone or a desktop. I don't think you can do it through a desktop. It's just a phone or a tablet. That's it. Like with us here, at least we can do it through a desktop, through a laptop, through the phone if we wanted to. We can easily go streaming through the phone. We've done that before with StreamYard. So that's why we landed here. This is, by the way, 100% not sponsored, but it's what we learned over doing it for a year and a half now.
And it's not that we just knew it. We know a lot of other podcast people, especially people who've been doing it a long time, that also use StreamYard. So I know Mike did a lot of research with some friends of ours that had a podcast going for a couple of years and it became very popular. And, so he got some feedback from them, and so that helps. But, it's good to have somebody like Mike who understands all this and is knowledgeable about it. And
I just soak it up. I don't know about all knowledgeable, but trying to at least weed through it, because as someone who didn't know anything about any of this, walking into it was tough. So therefore now I've made the decision that I want to help everybody be able to get through it, get through all the junk that's out there, because I've seen a lot of stuff where it's like, I look back on it now and I'm like, man, I'm really glad I didn't spend the money on that. But at the same time, there's a lot of things that you will have to spend the money if you want it nice. Anytime we've done anything with our conferences with, for instance, all of last year, we had, you had these meetings in Zoom, and our boss thought I was absolutely crazy that every time I came in, nice camera, nice microphone, but everyone always said like, oh, it's so much better than, the kids screaming in the background. You're on your AirPods, in a bathroom because it's so echoey. Like it makes the conversation so much easier to have with somebody when you at least have a microphone. It doesn't have to be a high-end expensive one, but a nice USB microphone does matter. And Chris found that out, because we had a very cheap and expensive microphone he was using that we used for work for things. And then he bought this mic that he has, and he sounds so much better than what he did, but it's because of the quality of the microphone. That really does make a difference.
Yeah, and it was embarrassing on some of those phone calls. And because of the cheap computer I have, there were some meetings where they had to completely change the meeting format because I couldn't use my computer audio. I had to call in, and the meeting type wasn't one of those where you could call in. It was only computer, video, and audio. And so it got real weird. And when you're talking on a telephone headset,
it kind of sounded like this, and whatever right there, and your people couldn't understand.
And so finally they invested and said, look, we're just getting you a microphone, a little cheap USB mic for your computer because you sound horrible. Thank you.
Well, and I was really surprised that you had this microphone set up where you had it plugged into the computer, and it was, ears and the microphone, the whole thing. It was all in the headset for your phone that you normally have. But what was hilarious is when he unplugs it, it screamed. The computer literally screamed. And I don't know how else to put it, but it was like feedback. If you've ever been to a live concert.
Or back in the day, whenever they said this is a test of the emergency broadcast system, and they would go, beep. Well, imagine that magnified, because it essentially said, okay, well, you have your volume set at 2 on the computer, but when you unplug me, I'm going to sound off at 100%. There
was no changing it. You couldn't lower the volume. You couldn't do anything with that but plug it back in. Because I'm walking over there, someone who's been... Now, live streaming wise, that was videos and all of that was zero knowledge on me. But being in a recording studio, that I understood. Audio, I understood that. So when I walked over, I'm like, oh, you just do this. And I'm like, I'm just looking at this thing like, what is wrong with this computer? It's sick. It's got issues, because you unplug it, it screams. You plug it back in, it's fine. Because usually if it had feedback, it would be in the headset itself. But no, this one was completely backwards. So they eventually broke down and got you something nice.
Now, the cool thing is you could plug in the headphone jack, mute it, and then pull out the headphone jack, and it would be okay. But the minute you unmuted it, regardless of whether you had the headphone jack plugged in or not, you got the sound. So
Yep. So that does make a difference. I've got one meeting that I do on Tuesdays. And for the life of me, I really wish he would get. I just want to tell him to treat the room because it sounds like he's always in his dining room or in the kitchen because it's very echoey. It's very hollow sounding. And at the same time, if there's anyone anywhere near him, like his wife or something like that, and drops a spoon, you can hear it, but it's like super loud. So all of that stuff takes into account whenever you're trying to either live stream or trying to have a meeting or anything like that. When you're now into this world of cameras and microphones and talking to people, it all comes together. Now you don't have to spend $5,000 on all these things. You can easily get away with it for around $1,000, but you always want to try to, add something better, be a little bit nicer. What was it? Kyle just got him. He just upgraded his camera, and I mean that thing took amazing photos. I was really impressed.
Yeah, and he had a cool looking rig that he had it sitting on too.
Yeah, all kinds of nice stuff.
It's hard to hide professionalism.
It is, right? It's also hard to hide money.
Yeah. I've tried to lean a little more towards the professionalism, but there's only so much I can do.
You've gotten a lot more calmer over the years, that's for sure.
Well, it's just because I'm lazy.
Oh.
I don't. There's no need to invest time and effort in something that's just not worth it.
There you go. Yeah. And don't forget, if you'd like to help us to purchase some of these items that we have currently on credit, the patreon.com Whatnot podcast would be a great way to help us out. And our wives would thank you as well.
Well, and see, that's part of what I've been trying to do is any monetization from YouTube that I get, invest that right back into what's going to make the content. I mean, as a woodworker, I'm so used to going, I'm saving up for this tool or that tool. But to say, I'm going to save up for a microphone. I'm going to save up for a camera.
Yeah, it's something that wasn't in your wheelhouse before.
Yeah, what else could I buy for the price that I got invested in a camera and a microphone? Come on, really? And now I've got these two little lights here that a little bit softer. Before I had those huge umbrella-looking lights, and
yeah, domes. Yeah,
they don't work well in a desk setting.
Too much.
Well, there's no room.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
I mean, they're massive. So
that's also what comes down to, as you can see with my. Let's see, there's a light there, and there's a light there. But the reason they look the way they do is because I have them covered up with this plastic sheeting that I use for spray painting whenever I spray something. But it works great as a diffuser, so therefore the light's a lot calmer on me. It's not as focused. I don't know how to describe it other than that.
The good thing is if they start to catch fire and the plastic melts, we'll be able to see it just at about the same time you do.
It's 2021, so they're LEDs. I would never do that with original bulbs, no. But I see another thing. The technology of the cameras, the technology of the lights, the technology of the microphones has come a long way over the years, by far. It really has.
Yeah, I mean, when I spent, I don't know, weeks just kind of researching, kind of figuring out kind of what I wanted, and once I kind of thought I knew what I wanted, I said, "Hey, Mike, you thinking about getting a camera? What you want to do is go with this Canon ROC with a mirrorless GRX 1422 Typhoon side lens correction kit with the blah." I'm like, yeah, okay, I got the Canon part. After that, it just kind of just faded out. I don't know.
Well, I think I remember saying, "Hey, do you have, what's your budget?"
Unlimited.
Yeah, it is, right? The new camera is awesome, but now I am on ramen noodles for the foreseeable future. Get some more content out there, Kyle. You won't have to worry about ramen noodles.
Yeah.
Let YouTube pay for it.
See, that's the thing, buddy. You got that cool, subscription platform. Get you some teaser free stuff out there.
What's the name of that again?
And learnyourcnc.com. Get you some free content out there on the YouTuber to tease people in. Create yourself that fancy their Patreon thing, maybe. And you'll have them just begging for morsels because your content's that good. So.
And I have to say this too. Growing up in Arizona, there was a record label that was called Fueled by Ramen because, when you're in a band, you have no money. You put it all into your equipment, so you're eating ramen. Just remember that Jimmy Eat World was on the Powered by Ramen. What was it? Crap, I just forgot what it was. But yes, Fueled by Ramen. They were on that record label because at one time they were poor too. So you could be Jimmy Eat World. Kyle, Eli, learnyourcnc.com.
Yeah, cool stuff. So, and what platform do you use? I know you don't do a ton of streaming on that, but you do a lot of the streaming on your weekly event. What platform do you use for that? Is it the same one, or what do you got? If you don't mind sharing, we're not looking for trade secrets here.
There is no trade secrets. Everyone's got the same options. Unless you want to custom build something.
Well, I don't know that the Learn Your CNC, really cool. The Learn
go.
Your CNC websites, I've not seen any platform like that. That is phenomenal.
Now, I will say Zoom gets a bad rap, but at the same time, they've really upped their game to where it looks very good as well. They even have it now to where, if I'm talking, it'll focus in on me if I wanted to instead of having both of us on the screen. It does it automatically, which is nice, but at the same time, I'm not a fan of that for our content here.
Yeah, and you might not know this, Chris. Kyle, but Chris that was in here, he's with Amana, and so he's a cool cat. We've known him for a long time. So
yeah, you can't resist that smile. Like that smile right there is the reason why you want to meet people in person. And wow, look at that.
I didn't swallow a fly, Mike, just in case you're curious.
I will find that footage and I will record it because it's hilarious. It's got to be.
What was that old song when you were a kid? There was an old woman who swallowed a fly. We're going to have to come up with one. There was an old Mike who swallowed a fly.
I never want that again.
He swallowed a fly, and I was laughing so hard about to die.
I remember sending you a private chat and the thing like, oh my gosh, I just swallowed a fly. Give me a minute.
But yeah, that's cool. I know. It's interesting how some of those platforms work well, and some are great for like one-on-one or one-on-multiple. But like with us being able to invite people into the group here, that requires a little different setup, and that's kind of where we're leaning at here. But if you're leading a session and you're the only one, even though you've got participants, they're not. Sometimes Zoom has a little bit of squirrely stuff, but Zoom, I like it better than Google Meets, and I definitely like it better than that Duo thing crap that Google's got, and it's also better than what's that thing Microsoft has?
That would be Meets. No, sorry, that would be Teams. Teams horrible.
Yeah.
Teams is and I'm not bashing on it, but at the same time, I can never get the app to work, so I removed it and just going through the browser.
Yeah. Teams doesn't even let you call in. It's ridiculous.
No. Teams was the one that we had problems with you as far as being able to be there. Meet, I do like Google Meet altogether. The only thing I don't like is that if you call in and you're looking at it on here, it becomes two separate inputs. So where it can say you have like 12 people, you really only have 6. That part I don't like, but that's always worked flawlessly. Never any issues there.
Yeah, and I mean, if you can find good free or very reasonable platforms, that makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah, and you can do StreamYard for free. You just have to deal with things like this that are always there. Like you don't get anything extra. You only get 1, maybe 2 places to record to on the free version. And then they have a pro, then they have like an upgrade. Then they have a pro. The only thing that really matters is when you get the pro version for $500 a year. I think it is. You get 1080p, and you get 10 guests, and you get 10 destinations to stream to. So if you're looking for multiple destinations, then yeah, that'll work for you. In our case here, we just need the few, so therefore we don't need that. But you can have up to 10 guests. You just have 4 places to record to or stream to. So
Yeah, and originally when we had talked about trying to stream to our own personal channel as well, but then we discussed it and landed on, you know what, let's just create a designated page. It's a lot easier, a lot cleaner, look nicer.
Absolutely. Now,
Oh well, if you saw episode 10, you'll have to go to Duff Style 1. If you see episode 11, well, that's over on Crisscross Crafts. That was going to get too weird.
It is too weird. What are you talking about? Let me see. Images. So I will say that there was a gentleman that we were recording with, we streamed with, and he was changing all of his. It was the coolest thing because he was changing everything about his layout through his camera. We weren't doing anything. So as he's turning and carving, his cameras are changing, and it was seamlessly. And so there, hold on a second, save image. So what he did was he caused me to go down the road of finding out why and how he was doing it. So if you don't want to invest in streaming software, then the next best thing is this box right here. The Blackmagic A10 Mini Pro. Don't you know what this is? Like $400. You can do up to 4 inputs, HDMI. Now, those inputs don't have to be video. They could be just audio. They could be a laptop. They could be a tablet. They can be anything that can be converted into HDMI can go into this. So then you can just switch back and forth, picture in picture, which is in the middle right there. So therefore, you can be like with Kyle, for instance, with his content. He can be in the small frame at the bottom, and then he can have the big frame being his desktop or his video, whatever he's doing and wherever he's streaming to. And it's flawless. You can actually record directly out from this, right to YouTube, wherever you want to go. And everything's done in your software over the network. The really cool part about this is that if Chris is at home and I'm at home, I can actually control his because it's over the internet. So if I wanted him to set up 4 cameras and use his with mine as one input, then I can switch everything on his. It's amazing what they are coming out with to be able to use for these things. So yeah, anything Blackmagic, when I say Blackmagic, that's what I mean is that the video company that makes things, they make high-end, $80,000 consoles, but they also make $400 small things like that for streaming. And it's the coolest thing in the world. So that's what I'm getting into here in the next couple of months for our day job, is learning that, how to work it all. So you'll see some changes in this because I've got to play with it. That's one thing I do like about doing these things and the podcast and everything, is I get to work with the equipment to find out how it works. That's how I learn. So I look smart. I'm not. I just play with it. Wait, that sounded bad. You know what I meant, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
and well, on that note,
yeah, right. So, hop in. I had mentioned that I bought StreamYard. Very good. Just price is an issue for that one. We like how you Zoom instead of Teams. Seems at least one of the group would always have issues. We migrated to Zoom with no issues. Absolutely. Yeah, and that was Mr. Chris Miller. And yeah, so Zoom, we did that for work as well, as far as we trained a lot of people. And we trained them through Zoom. And that worked out pretty good. But we've gone to Google Meets since then and have had pretty good success with that. Good evening, Mr. Gary Jones.
What's up, Gary?
Utah. Gee, that hat looks awful familiar. So yeah, let's see. So hop in. It looked very much like Eventry as far as you had your expo area, your tradespeople area. If you've ever seen the woodworking shows from Canada, I believe that's the platform they use. So you can go through and see all the different vendors and click on their booth, and then you get your own session, if you will. The vendors there live. I think the biggest hurdle right now is companies trying to figure out what they should do in their booth. I've seen some companies that they're just playing a video and the guy's just sitting there. There's really nothing else going on. It looks like he's on his laptop. I've even seen somebody fall asleep before in their booth, which, it can happen if you're just sitting there not interacting. You're not like at a show, where if you're at the show in person, you constantly have something going on. But that one, again, very high dollar. Now, the best layout one I've seen so far was called On24. You can actually take all the modules on the screen, move them where you wanted them to be for yourself as an attendee. So that was cool. So if we're presenting this video, for instance, and you didn't like the size of my screen, you could minimize it. You could make it bigger. You could do whatever you wanted to. You could take the chat feature, you could see it, and then you can minimize it, move it around the Twitter feed. Like, it was very cool in the fact that the person viewing it, the attendee themselves, could adjust all these things. The downside was that one was the inexpensive Mercedes and cost her show. There was a yearly thing too, but really it was more all these companies. The downside is they charge you per attendee. So if you have 1,000 attendees, you get charged so much per attendee, and that's why you have to pay for these shows in order to be able to see them, because they're charging the person who's hosting per attendee. That was one thing I wasn't a big fan of. I get it. I'd rather be like this, where we can do unlimited. We can do however many people want to join in live. It doesn't matter to them. We just pay one flat fee. We're done. So,
And Kyle, I'm sure you did last year. Did you participate? I mean, as far as go and watch the live Vectric show, that, in my opinion, is probably one of the coolest platforms that I've seen. It was very clean. It was done very well, and you could watch it on multiple platforms and interact on multiple platforms. And they did a fantastic job of that. I don't know. I've been to a few virtual things, and that to me is still probably one of my favorite that I've watched as an attendee.
yeah, you definitely came away with a very good reaction to that entire event, and you were showing it to me, and it looked really nice as far as how they had it all laid out. And you knew when the big people were coming, as far as the big names in Vectric and all of that. Yes, I caught some of the live ones, but mostly watched the replays. So now you know how Chris feels at 5 p.m. every day.
Yeah, no doubt, man. Well, and they're going to have it again in September, so I'm hoping there's an opportunity for Mike to catch it, just to kind of see some of the platform. I don't know what platform they're using, but it is very clean, very seamless, and it seemed to flow well. So.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too. Oh, what was the Vimeo. So Vimeo has really upped their game. Used to be they were like a competitor to YouTube. If you have anything out there that is streaming, where you can actually get, I know that I don't want to advertise so many things, but there's a few out there. My favorite's Motor Trend. So you can do Motor Trend TV. You pay so much a year. Well, something along those lines, where you're able to stream to Roku, Amazon, all these places where you're able to stream to. Vimeo is now a streaming host software at the same time. So you could take content and then actually make it streamable everywhere. And their cost wasn't that bad. I was pretty impressed. So basically, like, if you had $2 a month, for however many, I think 500 or something was, that was around the cost. So it was really inexpensive if you consider you had enough content. And you get to hold on to it. You get to make it completely private branded, so no one knows it's Vimeo related. Like, there was a lot of cool features behind that one. We don't have stuff like that. So, but it was neat to see that was available. And that Vimeo is really up their game as far as monetization goes now. So a lot of people are going to be starting to switch over from YouTube over to Vimeo, just for the fact that monetization is now available. Subscribers are now available. Like, there's a lot of things that have really changed. Before, it was really the place where musicians, content creators that were in Hollywood would post their things there. So it was more dedicated to big companies, really, as their platform to put things that were copywritten.
Or professionals. Yeah.
Or professionals, yeah. So now they've changed it to where there's a lot more usability for common people.
Yeah. My daughter was into modeling for a while, and that was where they had her upload her portfolio, or whatever you want to call it.
Gotcha.
So just no words, no music. It was just strictly just different photographs and stuff. And it was, I don't know. I wasn't a fan of it. But that was
many years ago. Yeah, it's changed since then. Now, we do have something that you and I watched here recently on as a viewer, and it was very lacking. But at the same time, it's kind of nice because you don't have a whole bunch of recommendations on the side. You don't have a whole bunch of just stuff on the screen. If you've ever put in YouTube into theater mode, my favorite way of watching it, by the way, it's very similar to that, where it's just the video play button, volume, that's it. There was really nothing else to do on that screen. So you can make your videos as simple or as busy as you want them to be.
Yep. So yeah, we're kind of looking forward to that, and we thought tonight that would be a sort of a different type of topic. It's not really woodworking related, but it does tie into content creation, and with all the woodworking shows now still going virtual, you might be an attendee if you notice things that you don't like or you do like, and let us know, because I mean, whether it be for the Whatnot podcast or for Mike and I's day job, I mean, we're constantly looking for better and more efficient ways to do things, and our boss is real keen on being budget friendly, which is the other reason why StreamYard is a good go-to for us. Was that kind enough?
That was very kind. I was going to say, if he had walnuts, he would make dust. Yeah.
So, anyway.
But at the same time, though, because of that forced me to keep it within a certain line. I couldn't go crazy. And I found that StreamYard was really the bee's knees, if you will, because the cost was low enough for the entire year, the unlimitability to where we could stream right now. We could close this down, set up another one, start streaming right away. And you have 15 days before, they delete it off of their system. So therefore you have 15 days to download it. So you have it. The other really nice thing is if you're doing podcasts, you can then get the audio for each one separately. And that's key if you're doing podcast stuff, because you don't want all the noise when I'm talking and you got noise from Chris's stuff, you just want it completely removed, or if he coughs or something like that, you can easily remove that, where if it's just one audio track, it's a lot harder.
Yeah.
But that's
I'm trying to be conscious of that and click the mute button when I better. I accidentally clicked the cam button instead of the unmute button.
So the only thing I do notice with StreamYard, the only negative thing right now is that their audio quality is not being paid attention to. It's very low bit rate. So for what you're hearing as a watching audience through both YouTube and Facebook is not as clean as you would get with Zoom or with Google or even with Microsoft right now. Like the audio quality is not there yet. But give it time. They'll figure it out.
Yeah, but so we're here on Wednesday nights at 9 to have fun, and we do appreciate you guys sort of, taking time out of your busy lives to come share it with us, and we appreciate that.
We do. This is kind of an area for us to be able to just try something, Hey, why not? What's your Facebook handle name? You're on it? Don't worry about that, Gary. What you really want to worry about is patreon.com/whatnot.
Oh, I see. Gary, he's on YouTube. Yeah,
he's on YouTube. So YouTube, our Facebook is this one. It's Whatnot Podcast. Facebook.com/Whatnot Podcast.
Our Instagram is Whatnot Podcast.
Have a good evening, Mr. Chris Miller. Good night.
See you later, buddy. Part-timer.
He's off the rest of the week. Thank you, John, for watching. Appreciate you. But yes, our Facebook handle name is Whatnot Podcast.
So yeah, we want to try to keep shaking it up a little bit and try different things. I mean, I know everybody's got different interests, but we do want to keep it tied around the woodworking theme. And so, shows and streaming and different things, those are all kind of unique stuff, and not all of us have a professional website with really cool segments like Kyle does, but hey, we can all strive to be better. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, and the nice part about this whole live streaming thing is that now that you have that stream key and you have that password, the code that goes with it, so only you have it, you don't give it out to anyone, otherwise someone could hijack basically your entire stream. With website development and having embedded players, you can really start taking this to another level with websites. So you could have like learnyourcnc.com, and he can have a stream box that comes up on 5 o'clock whenever he wants to, right on his website, and he can stream from one of these systems to that, which makes it you start to unlock so many possibilities for yourself to get your name out there. And if we don't do a good enough job of trying to help you on that, I even put him in the beginning intro. Did you see it? Yeah. I was like, oh, and did you see what this week's special video thing was in our episode screen?
I was in mid mantra mode, trying to absorb the energy, and I opened my eyes and I saw the tidbit. I was looking for the recipe for the brownies, but I must have missed it.
This time it was things that you can do after the podcast, like start a story hour at your local library, help somebody learn the computer, things along those lines.
Yeah, I got like number 2 or 3, and then it was gone. It's like, oh, I had to back up and reread that. Start a story hour. What? Oh, this is Mike being Mike. Okay, got it.
Yeah, Mike being Mike. Yeah.
Well,
Again,
we have fun, and we'll keep tweaking the topics. Again, nobody's saying anything, so we're just coming up with our own stuff here, and we don't want to bore you to death, and we don't want to run you off. So if you got topic ideas that you want to talk about, let us know. You can message us on any of our platforms, Whatnot Podcast, and let us know. I know YouTube, it's a little hard to find, but if we can get more people sharing and commenting, then Whatnot Podcast will show up more at the top of the list instead of, a woman knitting some kind of blanket.
Or whatnot.
Yeah.
That's 3 years old. Hey, you know what, though? That's our competition. That's not so bad.
A lady with a blanket. I think we can take her. Wait.
Yeah. So, anyways, if you would like to subscribe, please do.
We
you
mean
don't
no
have to do
harm
the
to
whole
the lady.
notification thing, because guess what? It's Wednesdays at 9. We do try to notify you if we're not going to have one. Like last week, we just had so much going on with the conference, and literally by the second day, our voices were kind of shot. Because what did we do? We did I'm trying to think. I think we did 3 sessions, so 3 hours worth of talking.
Well, and it didn't help that my wife's car broke down on last Wednesday, and so you were like, "Hey, man, we need to send this out if we're going to cancel." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm on the road going to get my wife." So,
only 3 hours later,
Yeah, basically replaced the engine, but hey, that's a different story.
It's under warranty. That's the greatest thing ever.
Yeah. That would be the podcast for Mechanics 101.
That's right. So,
My
customer
car-
states.
my
If you ever
car
hear
broke
me
down.
say that on my IG, that's where I get it from, is those customer states videos. Those are my favorite, because they're like, the customer states, the brakes just started making this noise yesterday, and there's nothing left of the brake at all. It's like, yeah, okay. You got it.
Yeah, man.
Anyhow, so yes, please join us. We'll try to be here every week. Send us your ideas. I think we're going to do that Wheel of Fortune again. That was actually a lot of fun. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, so if nothing else, chime in and say, hey, add this to your Wheel of Misfortune, and
Yes.
we'll add your topic on there, and you can watch us squirm. Because no matter what the topic, our goal is not to really talk about that topic. It's to bring it back to woodworking.
We have to start with something about it, and then somehow bring it back to woodworking.
That is correct.
That's what made it fun. So topics of the day, the hot points, all that will be in there, and then we have to bring it back to woodworking. It's a trip.
And if you missed that episode, go find this episode on YouTube. Back up one time, and there you'll have it. Watch that episode, see our Wheel of Misfortune, and come up with your ideas and let us know.
That's right.
I don't have the announcer voice.
You're getting there. You're getting there. So Mr. Gary Jones, now on Facebook, has asked us if we are going to do the extravaganza this fall. That is the day job where we do a virtual extravaganza woodworking show. It's going to be virtual this year. It's not going to be in person. They made that decision, I'm trying to think, May, maybe June. So unfortunately, they decided that it just wasn't enough. Well, I can say it here. Literally, there's not enough stuff. The manufacturers don't have enough. And a lot of them can't show up because they don't have anything to put in their booth. And that was a big problem, because then you would have this big woodworking show with nothing in it.
And a lot of the companies still have pretty heavy restrictions on travel.
Yep. Yeah, there's a lot that are still not doing any kind of travel. They're still working remote. So there was that issue, and then just in general, just the size of it. Because you just don't know what's happening anymore. It seems like everything's going to be okay. It's going to go back to normal, and then things are coming back what we didn't want to expect. So it was too much in the air.
But we are going to beef it up. We're going to do a lot more with it. We're going to have 4 weekends of nothing but extravaganza stuff, different stores, different clubs. So 4 weekends and then one huge long week.
That's right. The 18th through the 23rd, Gary. So, that will be the virtual week. But the 2nd, 9th, 16th, and 23rd, all those weekends at one of the stores, each store has its own special weekend. We'll have that all going on too. So, but you'll hear so much more about that coming up soon.
Now, that doesn't mean you can't reach out to us and we'll put you on the show somehow and advertise. We've got Gary on the line here.
So the plan for what I'm looking at doing is something similar to this, but where it's open, because we're going to be doing, if I'm not mistaken, when I looked at it, we're going to be doing roughly around 6 hours a day. Yeah, so at least 4, because we now know we can handle that. But yeah, up to 6 hours. So we're going to have guests, we're going to have people, instead of just having small segments like we did last year. It's going to be just all day. So just tune in anytime, see what's going on. Be like, oh, these two again. Gosh, YouTube's broken. These guys were here on earlier. That was funny when we had Jerry Blakesley. He ended it with us Saturday night, and then he literally stayed up all night and then joined us again Sunday morning, and then went to bed. That was pretty funny. But he was a lot. He's always a good time. So thank you again for joining us on Whatnot Podcast, Wednesdays at 9 p.m. on Facebook and YouTube. I am Mike Z.
I'm Chris.
You guys have a great night, and thank you again for joining us and watching and commenting and being a part of our party.
You're our friends.
I should have ended it before you did that.